Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 1999 mockumentary Drop Dead Gorgeous. Now, before I go any further sharing my thoughts on this film, I want to give a special shout out yet again to Brock for requesting this review. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal. The link will be in the video description down below, and I'll try to get to it as soon as I possibly can. Now, Drop Dead Gorgeous, to me personally, is an underrated gem. It's one of the rare mockumentaries that gives Christopher Guest's work a run for its money. And it's just a really funny film. I would say that it's not as consistently funny as it could be, but that doesn't really mean that the film is let's just say a disappointment or anything along those lines, because it's still really funny and gives me some of the biggest laughs, and it's just something that I really am drawn to. I really like black comedies. I like dark comedies. I like mockumentaries. This is a combination of both. So you get the best of both worlds here with Drop Dead Gorgeous. It's directed by Michael Patrick Jann. And Michael Patrick Jann, he didn't really go on to do a whole lot after Drop Dead Gorgeous, but he did do a lot of TV stuff. In fact, he was one of the directors for a lot of episodes of Reno 911. And prior to doing Drop Dead Gorgeous, he was a part of the comedy troupe at NYU called the New Group that renamed themselves to the State. And he was a part of the State. So he already had a background in comedy coming from the State, which had its own short-lived sketch comedy show on MTV, which is also pretty hilarious. So he definitely had a lot of background with comedy, and especially absurd comedies, uh, like what he was doing here with Drop Dead Gorgeous, and that really does show, because this is a comedy that, with the wrong director, with the wrong person behind the camera, it could just come across as mean and not really have the right tone, or it wouldn't be as funny. But he has a clear background in comedy and a lot of experience in it, so he really knows how to work with the timing and really work with the tone. And I think his direction was great. I thought he did a really good job creating a film that looks like your typical documentary from this time, with the camera work and with the uh, style of filmmaking that was utilized on screen. It's a movie that really does look like a documentary from the 90s, and it adds a certain authenticity to it. But at the same time, unlike some of these other mockumentaries or even some of the other documentaries from this time, there are some moments where the director does deviate a little from the typical formula when it comes to the structure of shots. So you have a film that looks typical, but at times isn't, and it really adds a very cinematic flair to the movie. And he gets the most out of his cast, and it's a big cast, so that it's really paramount and really important to have a director who can really just get the best possible performances out of such an ensemble cast. And you can just tell that he really enjoyed having the opportunity to direct a feature film, and he gave it his all, and it really does show here. And I think that as the years have gone by, the film has definitely gained a cult following, and understandably so, because the film is a genuine gem, and in large part, it's because of what Michael Patrick Jann um, brings to the movie. But the script by Lona Williams is arguably the most important facet of this movie. The direction is important, but the script is easily the most important thing because of the fact that it's a mockumentary, it's a satire of beauty pageants and small town values and Americana and just American values in general. And so it has to find this right balance, this right mix of different elements, as well as provide a lot of characterization for this smorgasbord of a cast. Like, there's a lot of characters in this film, a lot of different contestants who are joining this beauty pageant, and a lot of different other various characters that are a part of the story as well. Like, you have the judges of the beauty pageant, you have the beauty pageant contestants' parents, you have other people who are living in the small town of Mount Rose, Minnesota, and even beyond that, with the stuff with the cosmetics company that is the company behind the big beauty pageant championships of sorts that the winner of the Mountain Rose pageant gets to attend. So there's a lot of working parts here. There's a lot of different aspects of storytelling that really have to be top notch to make something like this click. And for the most part, I think Lona really does that. I think focusing the film mostly on Amber Atkins and her family, making her the protagonist, and then providing a clear antagonist with Becky Lehman and her mother Gladys, I think was a really good choice, because the two are definitely polar opposites in a lot of different ways. And the script does a really wonderful job making you sympathize with and root for Amber. You want Amber to win. And that's a sign of a good script, that you have some sort of compelling aspect of the narrative that just continues to drive the plot forward. There's other contestants, and they're involved too, and I like the variety of them. There's a lot of different types of personalities that are involved with these different contestants at the beauty pageant. You got the slutty one, you got the one that's uh really into bringing awareness to disabilities, but in a way that's honestly pretty over the top. You've got the girl who's only really doing it because she's trying to appease her parents or try to live up to what their expectations of her, but doesn't really give a shit. You have the girl who is the adopted daughter of this Asian family, and the Asian family wants her to win because they have not only adopted her, but they've adopted American culture to the extreme. So there's a lot of variety there. And I think that's another thing that definitely does help this script stand out in a good way. And it's also really funny. Like, the first 30, 40 minutes or so are just laugh out loud hilarious to me. The advertisement for the meatpacking company with the former pageant winner, who's this older lady who's talking about her days as a pageant winner, and then talks about this pork products company, and then it just does a hard cut from her like reminiscing about her past to her in a bloody apron talking about working in a pork products plant. Like, that shit is hilarious. And there's a lot of other stuff that's just really funny with just the pageant contestants and the interviews with them and with their parents, and just how unapologetically just over the top and crazy this film can be from a writing perspective in terms of the black comedy. You had interview with the mayor who's talking about this billboard that mentions this woman named Gladys, who's the oldest living Lutheran in the town, and he's ranting to the documentary filmmakers that they need to take that damn sign down because she's been dead for years. Stuff like that. And it just is so funny. And then you have characters that aren't necessarily a significant part of the movie, but really still stand out, like Loretta. Like Loretta is a riot. That character is instantly iconic to me, and I understand why it's arguably the most recognizable role that Allison Janney has done in her career for a lot of people. Because if you see this movie and you see Loretta and her scenes, like, she just really uh, uh, sticks with you in a way that is genuinely positive, because she's the type of character that really does become a genuine crowd pleaser. She tells it like it is, but she's got a heart to her. She's just not necessarily the brightest bulb, and sometimes she might take things a little too far, but there's a lot of endearing qualities about her. She's a very real character. Like, there's this whole scene where this nurse at the hospital is trying to cheer her up because her best friend and Amber's mom, Annette, I think that's her name. Annette Atkins. She's in the hospital because she's survived an explosion, and this nurse is all just over the top happy, just happy to the point where it's just saccharine, sugary sweet, and just fake as hell. Like, hello, Miss Sad Pants and her friend Serious Sally. How about a nice cool mint to help turn those frowns upside down? And then Loretta's like, do you think a nice cool mint would help if I shoved your head up your ass? I mean, that kind of rawness is just so funny. And I just really love the way that character is written. I just love the way that Amber and her whole family is written in this script. I also like the way that Becky Lehman and her family is written, because, yeah, they are your typical, let's just say, kind of WASP family, where they're rich, they're entitled, they're this and that, but it's done in a way that is structured so you legitimately love to hate these characters. You love to hate Becky. You love to hate her mother. And you want them to go down. You want them to lose. But you also want to keep watching them be devious and be just awful. And that's a sign of a good script to me, is where you can make the antagonist and their arc equally as compelling as the arc of the protagonist. I think the whole mystery element, in terms of all these different beauty pageant contestants or potential contestants getting knocked off in various different ways, I think that that's also effective too. It adds an extra layer of intrigue to the story. And I love the satire. The satire is so smart, so clever. Not only just a satire of Americana, mom and pop, and apple pie, Midwestern culture, but also just America's desire to be the best in anything and in everything. And on top of that, it's also a very clever satire of beauty pageants and just the ridiculous nature of it. And it even has an ending that is surprisingly very dark, which makes it even funnier that this everything all built up to Amber eventually winning because of just this insane twist that involves a swan that explodes. And Amber eventually gets to go to the national pageant because of the fact that all these things just keep happening that wind up leading to her moving on. So you have the exploding swan that ultimately kills Becky, who was given the win, just like a lot of people in the town expected she was gonna get because she's the daughter of the town's let's just say like the town's queen, so to speak. Gladys, who is like is this queen of the town and Miss Popularity and that kind of thing. And she's the one that pulls all the strings. And so her daughter was, according to a lot of people, just going to win. And she eventually does, but then she loses in the end. And that actually causes Gladys to just completely lose it. And she becomes a fugitive from the law because she eventually breaks out of prison and is trying to kill Amber. But even prior to that, she's revealed to be the one that was behind killing all these other pageant contestants. So you have that going on, and then Amber goes to the state's competition for the beauty pageants because she ultimately wins by default because of what happened to Becky. And, and then there's just this outbreak of just bad shellfish that just causes all these models and just pretty much everybody to get sick and just puke their guts out. And she's vegetarian, so fate would have it that she didn't get sick, and she's the only one that didn't eat the lobster. So she then goes on to nationals, and then she arrives at the nationals, and it's the culmination of her life's dream, and the doors are closed to the nationals because the cosmetics company that was behind it got busted for fraud and tax evasion. So there's no nationals. And so the end of the movie is just all of these models, all of these beauty pageant winners, and these hopeful women just tearing the fucking building apart. And and it's hilarious. It's really funny. It's a great bit of dark comedy. And it's a very different kind of ending for this kind of film. Like you're thinking, oh, she's the small town girl and she's got these big dreams, and fate's intervening and it's allowing her to keep taking the next step. And then at the end, it's like, psych, nope, no one wins. There will be no nationals. Suck it. Which I think is very fitting for the tone of this script and the overall tone of this film. I will say this though, I've been singing a lot of praises when it comes to the screenplay, but I don't think it's, like I said earlier in this video, I don't think it's as consistently funny as it could be. It's not really as funny or as engaging once you get to the actual pageant. The build up to the pageant was funnier and more irreverent, and just had a little bit better pacing and just a little bit more to it. Once you get to the pageant, then things aren't necessarily as compelling or as hilarious, but there still are some good moments. especially after the pageant is already over. Um, and there is one character in particular that I really don't think was necessary, let alone really that funny. And it's this mentally challenged character who's played by Will Sasso. He's the son, I believe he's one of the judges for the pageant. That's why he's there. And I get what the writer's trying to do here with this character, but a lot of it just feels very lazy in terms of the humor. The film is so clever and so smart in so many different ways to just have a lazy, mentally challenged stereotype just feels off. And it just feels like you could have just had a different character there. Someone who wasn't just this lazy, mentally challenged stereotype, which is like, ha ha ha, laugh at the mentally challenged guy and his antics and how he's not aware of social situations and stuff like that, and he's just this big overgrown child. And I just don't really feel that that really worked, and that definitely does kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say taint the film, but it definitely does add a layer that I think is definitely not needed. That does hurt the film a little bit because I don't really care for those scenes, and it's a dark comedy, and it's a definitely a very twisted film, but that just felt twisted in a way that was just mean and just not clever. So other than that, though, I really do feel for the most part this script is really good and great. And this cast is amazing. I mean, Kirsten Dunst as Amber Atkins, and honestly, my personal favorite role of hers, because she just plays such a likable, endearing character. You really want her to succeed. You really want her to beat the odds and beat Becky and win the pageant. And she's very bubbly, but she's also got this certain Midwestern charm to her that's very infectious. Uh, you really do see her being Miss Teen America type, a type of a personality, or the type of person that would go on to bigger and brighter things, or you feel that she deserves it because of the aura that she presents to the screen. And I also love how she just wasn't afraid to just take a lot of the madcap, a lot of the just twisted aspects of the film, and just run with it and just take it seriously, which made it funnier. Like the whole bit where she's practicing her tap dancing routine when she's working on dead bodies for the mortuary and putting makeup on them, and she's working in the embalming room. Like I thought that was just, that's dark, but it's funny. It's funny because of just how genuinely sincere her performance is. And then you have Ellen Barkin, who I love, who's just an amazing actress. I love her. She's awesome as Annette, Amber's mother. She's not in it a ton, but she definitely does make the most out of what screen time she has. Plays a very authentic, yeah, kind of trailer trash character, but in a way that didn't come across like the character was just a total stereotype, or a character that was just there to laugh at how poor she is. I felt that she meant well, even though she didn't necessarily know the right words, and that just made the character even more likable to me. Allison Janney as Loretta, just an absolute blast and a joy to watch. This character is just so much fun, so good that you honestly want to see a Loretta movie, because that character is just so entertaining. I got some uh Denise Richards. I mean, you could not come up with a better casting choice to play this spoiled, stuck up princess character in Becky Lehman. From just the way she smiles, from the way that she carries herself, like she's just God's gift to Mount Rose, or just to the world in general. Her whole dance number that she did, where she's dancing with Jesus on the cross, with this just pearly white smile and just this fake uh just cringe sincerity in terms of just how much she loves her Jesus. It's just so funny, and Denise just nailed every aspect of that character to a T. And Kirstie Alley, may she rest in peace. This is honestly one of my favorite roles of hers, as well as the just queen bitch of Mount Rose, Gladys Lehman. Uh, you definitely loved to hate her. It was one of those things where Kirstie Alley lent a lot of her own inherent charisma and likability and threw it into this performance with a character that is just unhinged and is just in a lot of ways almost just pure evil, because she's knocking off all these teens in order for her daughter to win and for her to also get the rub that comes from that. Uh, but her her just likability and her natural charisma just really lend itself well to this performance, because it makes it into a performance that really works, because you can understand and see why people are manipulated by her, and why people fall for her wiles, and why people fall for her tricks and put up with her. And you also have Sam McMurray, who plays the father. He's not in a lot, but he definitely has his moments, especially the stuff where he's just so tone deaf and just out of it and politically incorrect, to the point where it's so extreme that it becomes funny. Um, you also have Mindy Sterling, who plays Iris. You have Brittany Murphy, who as Lisa, who plays a character named Lisa. Um, Amy Adams in her first ever acting role as Leslie. Um, you also have Will Sasso, who plays the mentally challenged character. I guess I got it wrong that Hank was the one that was one of the judges. It was actually Harold, his father, but he was there with his father a lot during the judging. So that's why I got a little confused there, because he was there a lot with them. Um, Nora Dunn from SNL, she plays the state pageant, one of the state pageant members. You have Adam West, who plays himself in a little advertisement at the start of the movie. You also have the writer, Lona Williams. She actually plays the third judge of the pageant, which I thought was kind of an interesting bit of casting. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, the main cast is definitely Kirstie Alley, Ellen Barkin, Kirsten Dunst, Denise Richards, and Allison Janney, who's just a treasure as Loretta. And then, for a film like this, it has cinematography that looks good enough, looks nice, not anything that's gonna blow you away, but for this kind of film, it works. The same thing applies to the editing by Janice Hampton. The music by Mark Mothersbaugh, it's fine, but it's not anything super memorable. Uh, it's interesting though that Mark did the score, because you might recognize that name. Mark Mothersbaugh is a member of Devo. He's the co-founder, lead singer, and keyboardist of Devo. Um, And I think there are some songs in the soundtrack, but I don't really remember those either, except for the songs that they used to dance to at the beauty pageant, or some of the more absurd stuff, like the song that Becky sings when she's dancing with Jesus. But yeah, I mean the music works. It fits the film fine enough. And it goes by at a decent enough pace. It's like 98 minutes, and that's with the end credits. You take out the end credits, it's definitely not that long. But like I said, it's not as engaging or as funny once it gets to the pageant, but it's still watchable. It's still entertaining enough. And then there's enough stuff that happens afterwards that's either unexpected or funny in just such a twisted, crazy way that it still ultimately works as a full film. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this. I would recommend this if you like dark comedies. If you like dark comedies like Heathers, Jawbreaker, or mockumentaries in general, I definitely would say that Drop Dead Gorgeous is worth a watch. Um, but anyway, thanks for watching my review of Drop Dead Gorgeous, and until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.